intro video to a series of videos I'm going to make on how to convert or make FSS tables from full screen or desktop tables, full screen or desktop visual pinball tables. Basically, I'm going to cover. There's probably going to be a series of 8 to 9 videos, and besides the intro video, the first video will deal with how to use Photoshop in making the backglass textures. There could be 1 to 4 different types of textures. I will show you how to do that. It's actually quite simple. In my experimenting, I brought it down to a very simple process. So anyone who's afraid of Photoshop shouldn't be. My videos are going to be very clearly demonstrate how easy it is to do. Then after that, we're going to get into visual pinball and how to change the parameters to support to properly place the pinball table for FSS, and also integrate the those textures that you made in Photoshop to make the backglass, and how to light it, and so on and so forth. Then maybe another third video on just dealing with the lighting of that backglass, and maybe the table as well, so that both the backglass and the table are in sync with one another. You don't want a situation where the backglass is dark or too bright and the table too dark, versus, you want the lighting to seem as though the table and the backglass are both lit with the same kind of light. And then I'll continue on the issue of lighting. Another video on just a day and night slider, so that the user or player can just simply modify the light conditions to their preferences, and the script behind that to make that possible. Then there'll be three videos just to deal with the 3 different types of tables: one for the DMD, one for EM and all its components, one for solid state and all its components. Then maybe a short video on tweaking the tables after you're all done, and so on and so forth. I find I do that a lot, tweaking after the fact. And maybe possibly another video to deal with EM and the problems with backglass lighting animation, which they don't run on ROM, on Visual Pinmame, or have a ROM. And so to get backglass lighting, you need animation sequencer. And so I've scripted that and to show the authors how to use that animation scripting script. So the first thing you're going to do in an intro video, like I said, it's not a tutorial. It's really to show you what you need, the basics. And so the first thing you're going to want to download is this FSS tables archive I've made. When you download it from either the YouTube link or the Visual Pinball website link, you open it up and you'll find all of these basic VPX tables. You'll find the script file with all the different types of script chunks in it. I'll show you that shortly. Then you have graphics, various graphics for controlling color and light, some basic system graphics. I've thrown in most of my back box frame graphics to use for making the backglass. Then you have other graphics for the EM and the fonts for the drums. You also have the drum models, back game blade models if you want to use that kind of thing. Then some various rails. I've included that just in case someone wants to use that. Some basic grills. Anyway, it's all the stuff for making the FSS backglass. So I'm going to go into showing what's in the contents of these VPX tables. The first one is really simple. Is a DMD CRT type table, or backglass, or backbox, whatever. You just basically all of these 4 different VPX tables. It's just a cut and paste for authors. You just copy and paste it into your table, and that's how they do it anyway. But I've done it for convenience. I use these myself, and so basically you just grab that and plug it into your table, and then you add this, also cut and paste the script, and basically it works. Then you have the 2 solid state types. One here is a 2x16 solid state array, and so there's a script associated with that and the timer. Same thing here, where you have 1 to 4 player that you would just cut and paste your timer. This would be the credit, maybe possibly the credit values, and here the match and ball and play values. These are extras because sometimes tables have extra data that they're showing, so you would use these to display those on the back glass for solid state. The last one is EM, and basically it's the same deal there. Either you have 2 player or 4 player, you cut and paste. And then you have your credit reel. You have 2 animation timers. You would, cut and paste these if you're using the animation scripting for EM backbox lights. So that's that for that. And then you have your VB script. Basically, I threw everything in there, whether you know about it or you're a veteran author, so you would know what all of this is. But basically, if you're using a DMD integrated into the back glass, you're going to need this chunk of code here. It's just a one-liner. But I'm just going to go really fast through this file. It's not, I'm not showing anything. I'm just, and nothing specifically, it's just a glance, and I will get into that more specifics of this code with every other video example. Here is like if you want to force B2S off, and I use this only in mixed mode FSS tables where there's FS, DT, and FSS all together. I've only made a few of these tables, but if you do that, I found that you needed to force B2S off, and so this is the chunk of code you would use for that. In some examples, you need a lamp callback because they only declare the lights and they don't have an update routine for the lamps. So you would include this so that you can control the lights in your back glass, and sometimes if you're adding some flashers to the tables and so on and so forth. Here are the day and night function and data sets. This is where you're going to control the lighting for the day and night slider. Okay, and this is the code chunk that you're going to have in all your FSS tables. I have all my FSS tables. If it's not in this particular sub, it's actually broken down in the init routine. So this is called by the init routine right at the end of the init routine, and it basically positions all of the textures and so on and so forth. Some of these may be commented out because you didn't put a grill or you didn't put a frame, so you just comment these out. But more than likely, you'll have these 3 to make an FSS back glass, and depending on what type of table we're talking about, you either enable or disable this DMD. Here it's for, again, this could be all 3 tables. It'll center the back box lights graphics. If you're in an SS table, this will properly position the LED 7-segment display components. This is for now. This is all the rest onto the end of the sub is for EM. It positions the models properly, the drum models, and this is to initialize those drums to 0. So the code has to be called if you're making an EM table. And then after that, we have all of these, declare these little functions after that. So I will explain later on how to use these. So basically you have the center objects there. Then we get into we get into the type 1, what I call type 0, type 0 solid state character display. It's the one that is 2 by 16. I'll just show you that again here, this one. Actually, I'll just highlight it there, this one. Yeah. So this is the code to drive that. It has the center digits for that particular type. You know, basically it's just a change in this value right here, but I put it in here as for convenience and clarity. And then you have the declaration of all those elements in the script so they can be controlled by this timer script function. And so this gets called, it controls that, and then ends up controlling these elements. So that's for that solid state. Then there's the 1 to 4 player solid state type, this type here. And again, it's the same thing, it's center digits, but again, it's only changing this value. And then you have the declaration of all of those elements, those drawing elements. And then, of course, the timer, display timer function to control that. After that, you have all the EM code. So it's the 1 to 4 player. It depends on what you're going to use it for, or how many players you're going to use. Your table is designed for. Then you have basically the core code to drive and set up those drums. And so it goes on, and when we'll fall onto the examples, how to use the code. Basically a cut and paste sort of deal. Here, anytime you change credit, add credit, take away credit, you change credit value, you're going to call all of this. And it's a cut and paste thing. As long as that credit value is set up properly, it'll work. Then you have your 1 to 4 player drums. So this is all dependent on whether it's 1, 2, or 4 player. You're going to modify, either remove or add some of these. Then basically the core code to input the score values, and that's it. Then I have an example, and it's just experimental. It's how to use a vpin MAME. And at some point in time, they went from EM real to solid state, and so you have tables that have both. Now there are differences in audio and so on and so forth, but you could use this on the visual pin MAME version and convert it to EM real. So this is basically an interpreter. It runs just like the solid state version, uses the same timer and so on and so forth, solid state, but gives you a EM real look to it. So this is the code you would use, and so on and so forth. It's just there for people who might be interested in doing that. I'm actually not going to really show how to use it, but it's just there for out of interest. Anyway, so that's that, and there's nothing else to show. I guess that's the end of the intro. So like I said, the next video will be how to Photoshop those backglass textures. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're a fan of FSS as I am, I hope you enjoy the tables, and if you get into making them or modding existing tables, well, basically have fun. Thanks for watching.